Humans have one unique trait. Unlike animals who learn from their mistakes, humans often never do. And today's story is about exactly that, where humans, in their desire to live a comfortable life, end up creating even bigger problems. To make life easier, humans designed robots called replicants. These replicants looked and behaved just like real humans. They had emotions, feelings, and even bled when hurt. At first, replicants worked perfectly alongside humans. But over time, some of them began to turn violent, attacking and even killing humans. To stop such rogue replicants, a special force of hunters was created. These hunters were also replicants, but ones who were strictly loyal to humans and followed their orders. Among them was a hunter named K, whose life took a shocking turn when he discovered a terrifying secret about himself, a secret that would change everything. The story begins with Officer K. His job was to retire replicants, meaning to eliminate them. On this day, his mission was to track down and kill a replicant named Scrapper. K reached Scrapper's hideout and waited inside for him to return. As soon as Scrapper entered, K ambushed him, and the two engaged in a brutal, intense fight. In the end, K overpowered and killed Scrapper. But just before dying, Scrapper told him something strange. "You hunt replicants because you've never witnessed a miracle in your life." With those final words, Scrapper died. K calmly washed his hands, left the house, and got into his futuristic vehicle. As he was about to drive away, his lieutenant called asking about the mission. K informed her that it was a success and he was heading back. But just then something caught his eye, a strange-looking tree nearby. Curious, he stopped, scanned the tree with his tech, and discovered a hidden box buried about 5 feet underground. K dug it out and took it with him back to the high-tech base. There, he handed the box over for examination and went for his regular mental stability test. This test was designed to check whether his mind was balanced and if he was still fit for the next mission. The questions were tough, but K answered them calmly and passed without issue. Afterward, he headed home. On the way, he passed groups of unemployed people protesting against the government. Ignoring them, K went straight home. At home, he was greeted by his girlfriend, Joey, a holographic AI. That day marked 1 year of their relationship. To celebrate, K gifted her a device that would allow Joey to walk with him anywhere in the world, no longer confined to his home. Thrilled, Joey asked him to take her outside. Together, they experienced the rain for the very first time. Joey, soaking in the drops, felt almost human as she grew closer to K. The two shared an intimate moment, but their moment was interrupted when K received a message from his lieutenant. The lab had found something important inside the box, and he was ordered to report immediately. When K arrived at the lab, the scientist explained, "This isn't just a box, it's a military container, and inside, we found the skeleton of a woman." Upon closer examination under the microscope, they discovered something shocking. The woman had died during childbirth. But what K noticed on the bones next left everyone in utter disbelief. On those bones, K found something shocking, a serial number. Every replicant had one engraved on their bones to identify their model. This meant the skeleton belonged to a replicant. K's lieutenant was stunned. She told him, "How is this possible? Replicants were never supposed to give birth. That was the one and only difference between humans and them. If this truth comes out, the world will never be the same. Chaos will follow." She then ordered K to erase every single piece of evidence connected to this case, and also to find and kill the child that had been born before anyone else could discover the truth. K left the lab, deeply disturbed. The thought that replicants could actually reproduce kept haunting him. His mind went back to Scrapper's final words, "You've never seen a miracle." Now K felt Scrapper must have been talking about this miracle all along. Determined to solve this mystery, K threw himself fully into the mission. His search led him to a place called the Earth Headquarters, where massive archives on replicants were stored. He hoped to trace the serial number there, but when he asked about it, the clerk told him something shocking. 30 years ago, there was a massive blackout in Los Angeles. For 10 straight days, the entire city had no power. On the 11th day, when electricity finally returned, all replicant records had been wiped clean. No one has ever found out who did it. K was frustrated. His lead had gone cold. Just then, a woman approached him. Her name was Love, and she claimed to be sent by Nyander Wallace, the head of Wallace Corporation, the company that now built replicants. Love escorted K to a secret room where rare data had survived the blackout. She even gave him an old audio file connected to the serial number. When K played it, the recording revealed the name of a man, Deckard, who was once interrogating a replicant. But the audio was so distorted that no further information could be recovered. K's next move was to track down someone who had worked closely with Deckard in the past. He found an old replicant who admitted that Deckard had retired decades ago, and since then, no one had heard from him. Once again, K hit a dead end. Meanwhile, Love returned to Wallace. Inside his high-tech lab, Wallace was conducting experiments on a female replicant. His ultimate goal was to create replicants capable of giving birth, because if that became possible, he could manufacture them by the millions and dominate the future. But the experiment failed, and the woman died on the table. Wallace, however, knew about the child from the skeleton. He ordered Love to find the child at any cost and bring it to him. Back on his mission, Kay stopped at a restaurant. Some people were watching him closely, and soon a group of women approached, trying to distract him. Among them was a girl named Mariette, who pressed herself against Kay and even hinted at her home nearby in case he ever needed her. But Kay ignored her and left. Instead, he went back to Scrapper's house for a deeper investigation. While searching, he noticed an old piano. As he touched and played a few notes, he sensed something unusual. Opening it, he discovered a small hidden box. Inside the box was a photograph, a young girl standing near the same tree where Kay had earlier dug up the skeleton box. This led Kay back to the tree. As he examined it more carefully, he discovered something carved near the roots, a date. The moment Kay saw it, his mind froze. The date was one that carried a shocking significance for him personally. Meanwhile, Love infiltrated Kay's lab. Following Wallace's orders, she began stealing samples of the skeleton, but when a guard tried to stop her, Love cleverly kills the guard and steals the samples before leaving. After that, Kay meets with his lieutenant, who asks him about the progress of the case. Kay tells her that he hasn't found any solid lead yet. Then the lieutenant asks Kay about his childhood, because replicants never have real memories. They are always implanted with someone else's. Kay explains that in his childhood, he remembers an orphanage where he grew up. He recalls having a toy horse, and other kids used to chase him to steal it. To protect it, he hid the toy somewhere, and when the other kids couldn't find it, they beat him badly. That's all he remembers. Afterward, Kay goes to the records room at headquarters and starts checking the files of all the children born on that particular date he had found earlier. Meanwhile, Joey also appears there and tells Kay that maybe he himself is that child, because he's not just any replicant, there must be something special about him. Kay, however, denies it. Soon, Kay discovers that on that day, 2 children were born, one boy and one girl. The girl had died due to an illness, and the boy grew up in an orphanage. Kay immediately heads toward that orphanage, but as soon as he arrives, some men attack him. Just then, Love appears and saves him. The truth was that Kay's ship was manufactured by Wallace Corporation, so his location was easily trackable by her. Kay finally reaches the orphanage and sees many children working there. He talks to the owner and asks about the boy, but the owner avoids giving any answers. So Kay beats him until he reveals everything. The owner then takes him to a room where the records of the children were kept in notebooks. But when Kay opens the book, he finds that several pages are torn out, exactly the ones that would have had information about the boy. Who tore them out? That's something we will only learn later in the story. Kay continues to wander through the orphanage, and everything seems strangely familiar, just like his own childhood memories. He finally reaches the same spot he had remembered and finds the toy horse hidden there. When he inspects it closely, he notices the exact same date carved on it that he had earlier seen written under the tree. This completely shocks him, and he begins to believe that the child he has been searching for all along is none other than himself. Later, Kay returns home and discusses this with Joey. Joey tells him that if it can be proven whether his childhood memories are real or implanted, then it would be clear if he is truly that child or not. Kay agrees. So, to find out, Kay visits Wallace's secret lab, where he meets a scientist named Stelline. She used to work with Wallace, and her job was to design artificial memories for replicants. Kay tells her that he needs her help for this case. He wants to know if his memory is real or fake. Stelline examines his memories carefully, and while looking at them, she becomes very emotional. Finally, she tells Kay that, yes, the memory is real. Hearing this, Kay is shaken, but convinced that he is indeed the child he has been desperately searching for. After leaving Stelline's lab, Kay is suddenly arrested by the police because he had entered the lab without permission. He is taken back to headquarters, where he is forced to undergo the baseline test that every Blade Runner must pass after returning from missions. This time, however, Kay fails the test. Later, the lieutenant comes to him and says, "What's wrong with you? You're my best hunter, but you're drifting away from your purpose. And since you failed the test, because of this, the lieutenant suspends Kay." After that, Kay returns home where he is visited by Mariette, the woman he had met earlier at the restaurant. The two make out, and the next morning Mariette cleverly plants a GPS tracker on Kay's clothes. Later, Kay takes the wooden horse to an expert. Upon scanning it, the expert tells him that it carries traces of a special kind of radiation, which closely matches the radiation found in a city near Los Angeles. Hearing this, Kay decides to travel there. Meanwhile, Love meets the lieutenant and demands Kay's location, but the lieutenant refuses to share anything. Enraged, Love stabs her to death and extracts Kay's location from her computer. On the other side, Kay reaches the city. Everywhere he looks, there's nothing but radiation, dust storms, and pitch darkness. The whole atmosphere feels eerie and unsettling. While wandering, he enters a house where he encounters Deckard. Kay tries to talk to Deckard, but Deckard refuses and shoots him with a gun, knocking him down. When Deckard goes downstairs to check, Kay is gone. Deckard begins searching for him. Kay hides in a room equipped with a hologram projector playing an old video. Suddenly, Deckard enters. Kay tries to explain the truth to him, but Deckard doesn't listen and attacks him. Somehow, Kay manages to calm him down. Later, the two sit in another room where Deckard pours drinks for them. Kay asks him about his wife and child. Deckard explains that his wife's name was Rachel and admits that he never even saw his son's face. He says that there had been an order to kill the child, and if the baby had stayed with him, they would have been killed as well. To save the child's life, Deckard sent him to an orphanage. Kay asks why he never tried to find his child. Deckard replies that because of the blackout, all records of the child were erased, and staying away was the safest option for the child. Just then, Love arrives with her army and launches an attack. The explosions leave both Kay and Deckard badly injured. Kay fights back against Love's forces, but they are too many. He is eventually captured. Love approaches Kay and brutally beats him until he loses consciousness. During this, a device falls from Kay's pocket, the one that stored Joy's entire memory. Love crushes it, permanently erasing Joy. The loss breaks Kay's heart. Leaving him on the ground, Love takes Deckard aboard her spaceship and flies him to Wallace. Sometime later, Mariette finds Kay, thanks to the GPS she had planted on his clothes. She rescues him and takes him to an underground hideout where she treats his wounds. There, a woman named Freisa arrives and introduces herself as the leader of a group called the Revolutionaries. She reveals that it was their group who orchestrated the blackout and erased all data to protect Rachel's daughter. Shocked, Kay tells her that he thought the child was a boy. Freisa explains that to protect the girl's life, they had spread false information so no one would pursue her. Kay is stunned. Until now, he had believed he was Rachel's son. Realizing the truth shatters him. Freisa then tells Kay that if he joins their cause, they could change the entire world and punish those who oppress replicants. But before Wallace learns the truth from Deckard, she says, Kay must kill him. Kay agrees to help their group. Meanwhile, Wallace meets Deckard and asks about the child, but Deckard refuses to say anything. Wallace tries to emotionally manipulate him by showing him a prototype of Rachel, but Deckard doesn't fall for his trick. He firmly says that he hasn't seen his child since the moment of birth. Wallace doesn't believe him and orders Love to take Deckard to prison. Love boards a spaceship with Deckard, heading toward jail. But suddenly, Kay attacks. He shoots down two of the escort ships, then crashes the one carrying Deckard and Love into the ocean. And just as Love tries to escape from the sinking ship, Kay first shoots and kills the pilot of Love's vessel so that there's no chance of anyone getting away. But during this, Kay himself is shot and badly wounded. Soon, a brutal fight breaks out between Love and Kay. Meanwhile, water begins to flood the spaceship and Deckard starts drowning because Love had handcuffed him. In the middle of their fight, Love knocks Kay unconscious and goes to finish saving Deckard for herself. But suddenly, Kay regains strength and attacks her again. He overpowers Love, forcing her underwater, and eventually drowns her to death. Moments later, Kay frees Deckard and the two escape just before the ship completely sinks. Afterward, they head to Stelline's laboratory. Here, the truth is finally revealed. Deckard and Rachel's daughter is none other than Dr. Anna Stelline herself. Kay had already begun to understand this when Freisa told him that Rachel's child was actually a girl. He realized it must be Stelline, because when she had shown him his memories earlier, he had become deeply emotional. Kay then gives Deckard the wooden toy horse and tells him to go inside to meet his daughter. Kay, however, stays behind, lying on the steps of the lab, bleeding heavily from the bullet wounds inflicted by Love. Inside, Deckard finally comes face to face with his daughter. Overwhelmed with emotion, he realizes the truth at last. And with a few unanswered questions still lingering, the story comes to an end here. So friends, what do you think? Did Kay really die? Or is there more to his story? Since the villain is still alive, we might only find the answers in the next part. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and share it with your friends. And if this video gets 300 likes, we'll definitely bring you the next part of the story. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye.